What is going on, everyone? So when Gary Gensler opens his mouth, anytime he opens his mouth, it's time for us to pay attention because it does affect us directly. It does affect those of you that are holding AMC stock. It does affect those of you that are holding GME stock. It pretty much affects anybody that's holding any stock in the stock market because that's just how the game works. So this is why I'm playing all of these clips for you, because I want you guys to be educated and know what is actually going on out there. So without any further ado, I'm going to play part 2 of this video series. This video series where Gary Gensler is getting grilled by Congress. Most of this has to do with PFOF, but it also has other issues involved. I'm not going to do too much talking because these videos are already going to be long enough, and I want you guys to watch them for yourselves. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this entire situation. Is it better for PFOF to get banned, or are you one of those that really enjoys your free trading where you don't have to pay any commissions on purchasing or selling your stocks? Let me know in the comments below. I know that there's going to be a difference in opinion, and we are going to get right into the video. But before we do, let me remind you to please go ahead and hit that like button so that this video is shared with as many apes as possible. And also, if you are new here, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a video, because I put out videos just like this one every single day. Now let's get into this video.
I've asked staff to take a look at this. It's been about 16 years since we did major rewrite of the national market structure. And I think the inherent conflicts of payment for order flow and rebates on the stock exchanges both may make our markets less efficient. And this is important for capital formation, and it's important for the retail investors that all three senators have already raised, is that retail investors may not be getting best execution, even if they get a price improvement, but there is price improvement versus a sort of out-of-date measuring rod. And if you measure against the wrong measurement stick, it doesn't mean you're getting best execution. So we're looking out for retail investors. If anybody on this committee or staff legally traded in the retail markets, there's like a 97% chance that it does not go to a transparent exchange. It goes to the dark markets or the wholesalers. And so it's harder to get best execution when you're not competing order to order. So I'm like deeply a markets person and believe in the competition of markets to bring those orders in competition.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just you mentioned in your opening remarks that one area you're looking at is the Treasury market. And I think that's critical. As you know, in March 2020, there was a free seizure of the market, not by opponents, but the whole market sort of seized up for a moment. And a volatility in the Treasury market is very much a danger to the entire economy. And so I would ask that you continue to look very closely at the Treasury markets. I know we've tried to learn lessons from March 2020, but I don't think we've fully learned all the lessons and incorporated them in action.
I agree with you, and it's one place I hope that there's maybe even more bipartisanship. I'm working closely with Chair Powell at the Federal Reserve, closely with Secretary Yellen and her team to try to bring more resiliency, safer Treasury market, but also more competitive, that we might lower the cost to all of us, the taxpayers, because we are the issuer in that sense.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I read your editorial in the Wall Street Journal today about the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act. For what it's worth, I agree with most of it. It's a damn good bill, by the way, if I may say so.
I want to thank you for, I think it helps us do our job both at the SEC and at the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board.
I appreciate that. I agree with you, obviously. There's a 3-year implementation period, as you know. Foreign companies, including our friends in China, have 3 years to comply. The Senate's passed a bill reducing that to 2 years. We're having a little trouble getting the House to take it up. Would you be willing to contribute your considerable efforts to encouraging the House to take it up?
Senator, I've already had some discussions and expressed to some of the leadership over there that I support that.
Okay. Who pays corporate income taxes?
Senator, it's the corporation that pays the taxes, of course, then ultimately the owners of those corporations are the shareholders.
Corporations just is not a payor. It's a tax collector, isn't it?
Well, I'm not here as an expert on the tax code. I think the corporation
you're an expert
literally.
on corporations. I think economists are generally in agreement that the corporation is not a payer; it's a tax collector. The owners and the customers and the workers that Chairman Brown spoke so eloquently about actually pay the tax, don't they?
Well, again, I never want to mince words, but I think that the corporation, of course, is paying, and then the shareholders have less net income.
Don't the workers pay it too?
I think that it's a cost of the corporation. It, like all costs of the corporation, those costs compete with each other. Even the cost of the real estate.
Do the workers pay it? I'm just trying to. I don't have much time. Sorry about that. The workers pay individual income tax, workers pay Social Security tax and the like. I just want to be sure I understand your testimony, Mr. Chairman. You're saying that the workers are not impacted at all by the corporate income tax?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking a different question. All costs in a company compete with each other, whether it's the real estate costs or any other costs.
Are the workers impacted negatively by corporate income tax? Real simple question.
No, I understand it, but I think it's best as the head of the SEC to leave debates about taxes to Congress. I really do think that's
I understand why you don't want to answer it. I get it. Look, I don't mean any disrespect to you. I followed your career. You've had quite a career in public service. You've made a lot of money on Wall Street. I respect that. I honor that. But as to the people and the companies that you regulate as chairman of the SEC, do you consider yourself to be their daddy?
No.
Then why do you act like it?
I try to take the oath of office seriously that the SEC is set up to promote investor protection and facilitate capital formation and that which is in the middle.
But why do you impose your personal preferences about cultural issues and social issues on companies and therefore their customers and their workers? Like climate change and the Second Amendment. I mean, I'm sure you have personal feelings about abortion. Do you have plans to implement or impose those values on companies?
So I want to thank you for the compliment you gave me, and I've followed your career and have the deepest respect for you too, sir. I think that I am not doing that. I think what I've been trying to do is say, if investors want information about climate risk, and it looks like tens of trillions of dollars of assets under management of asking, we at the SEC have a role to put something out to notice and comment, do the economic analysis, and really see what investors are saying. It's really in that narrow set of chalk lines that we're operating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Kennedy. Senator Tester from Montana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Chairman Gensler for being here today. I just got to say one thing really quickly. I've got a farm. My wife and I have a farm. We have a corporation. That corporation pays the taxes. We don't. And we're the only stockholders of that corporation. And that corporation exists over the last 30 years or so, has, quite frankly, helped us financially as we move forward. So just a different perspective. I want to talk about Citizens United decision, which I believe is one of the worst decisions that's ever come down from the Supreme Court, incredibly detrimental, has ended up with literally hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars flowing into our political system in an untransparent way. I don't think it helps with our democracy. That being said, the SEC has the power to require companies to disclose corporate political spending. Now, the money that these companies put into campaigns may or may not be determined as being materially important, but nonetheless, it depends on who you're talking about. If somebody throws $1 million at me in a campaign, it's materially important for me in that campaign. It may not be materially important to that corporation. Right now, the current appropriations bill prevents the SEC from doing anything about these contributions. Do you believe shareholders should have access to that material information about how companies who these shareholders own spend their money?
Senator, I thank you. And as you noted, there is the appropriations rider, but putting that to the side,
yep.
If you're asking, similar to the other issues around climate risk and human capital, to the extent that investors want to see that information, and it looks like an increasing number of investors do.
Yep.
I mean, we see that each of the shareholder voting periods, there's been petitions on this to the SEC and so forth. I think the SEC has a role. Similarly, put things out to notice and comment and see what the process brings.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that answer. I've talked about this in this committee before. I think we really need to take a strong look at extreme weather events. As a farmer this year, for example, this was my wife and my 44th harvest. It was the worst one by far ever due to drought and due to extreme weather conditions. If you take a look at the amount of money that the American taxpayer is putting out for extreme weather events in this country, it billions and billions and billions of dollars, and it may even be trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. I think it is irresponsible for us not to look at the impacts that climate has had on our lives and on our economy, because this ain't going away, and it's getting worse. And so, as chairman of the SEC, how do you view your work in considering the impacts of climate change as they pertain to your role as a regulator?
So again, as I've said to other senators, our role is prescribed by Congress about the issuing companies, these 7,000 or so companies, and the investing public, and to bring consistent, comparable disclosure where investors want it. So in climate risk, investors have been asking for it, and hundreds of companies amongst the 500 largest, I think it's 80+%, disclose something, but we can bring consistency, comparability, and make the decision useful information.
For the investor?
For the investor, and it would be regarding to some of the physical risks that you mentioned, but also the transition risk over time.
Okay. Senator Reid talked to you a little bit about cybersecurity. Could you briefly, in the next minute, talk about the list of cybersecurity requirements that the SEC is looking at implementing?
I think I'm willing to meet with you or your staff to go through.
But I should have prefaced this by saying, not unlike climate change, this problem is going to continue to get worse.
I couldn't agree with you more. So there's two lists we're looking at. One is those activities, how are you managing your cyber risk? Because it's a real risk. How are you governing and managing it? And what are your sort of, I'll call cyber hygiene? Secondly is incident reporting. If you have a breach and you're paying ransomware and the like, what are you saying to the public when this occurs? Especially if you have private information. Some companies have tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of the American public's confidential information then taken by the bad actor who has just breached the wall.
So it would be, your work is going to be in the realm of hygiene and reporting the attacks.
That's correct.
And the system they have in place. For
the system they have and incident reporting, but any advice you have and your staff, we look forward to having good conversations.
We look forward to it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.